Currently walking in Muscatine, Iowa. We're about maybe 30 minutes or so west of Davenport, Iowa. We're going to talk about the murder of 7.5-month-old Amber Hayes. We're going to go back in time to June 8th, 1988. And in one of these homes in this neighborhood, a baby lived. She was barely a little over 7.5 months old. Her name was Amber Marie Hayes. And she was the daughter of Mary Hayes. And Mary had another daughter. She was older. Her name was Barbara. She was about 7 or 8 years old at the time. So on that evening, June 8th, 1988, Mary, who's living right up the street from where I'm at right now, she's dating a man by the name of Leslie Ray Brockert. Now, I don't know much about Brockert, but I know that he likes to do two things. Number one, he likes to sell cocaine. And even more so, he likes to do it. We got a man who's getting high on his own supply. So on that evening, Mary tells Leslie, hey, I'm going to go to the bar with a couple of my friends, watch the baby. Okay, easy enough, done. She goes out, has a good time. She comes back. It's after 2 o'clock, maybe it's 2:30 in the morning. She opens the door and she sees Leslie. He's very agitated. And she says, what's wrong? And he says, nothing. And just, he's acting very, very weird. He's acting very weird because he's very, very high right now. And she goes into her daughter's room and the baby's not in her crib. And she tells Leslie, where's my daughter? And he says, I don't know. She was kidnapped. He takes her car keys, supposedly, runs out of the house, jumps in her vehicle and splits. Around 3 a.m., she calls 911. The police come and she fills out a missing persons report for her baby. And they immediately start looking for Leslie. Muscatine's not a very big town, so it's quite easy to find him, and they do. So they find him and they quickly arrest him for kidnapping. Now they're holding him in the Muscatine County Jail, and for the next 4 days, they're looking all over the city for this baby. June 12th, 1988, two kids are hiking in the forest near Lake Odessa, not very far from here. And there's a kind of like a dry lake bed. And one of them sees something on the ground and it looks weird, looks out of place. It was a baby's head. So those boys, they turn around and run the hell out of there. They go home and probably tell their parents. They call 911. Muscatine County sheriffs arrive at the scene, and it is a human baby head. That is all. Immediately they call in more people to come, and they start looking for the rest of the remains of the baby. Now everybody knows that there is a missing baby in this area because everybody's talking about it. It's big news. I'm pretty sure the detectives are interviewing Leslie Brockert and asking him what's going on. So they're interviewing him and they say, okay, can you tell us what happened? And he says, well, I was at home and somebody came in and took the baby. And they said, why didn't you do anything about it? And he says, well, I was doing cocaine all night and I had this really bad headache. So I had a pillow over my head because the lights were just really blinding. So these guys just walked in the door, came in, took the baby and left. But I really couldn't do anything because my head really, really hurt, like badly. So this is the location of where Amber was kidnapped and possibly murdered. Now, the address in the newspaper where the story is printed in says that they live at 603 Clay Street. Now, you can see this is a somewhat residential neighborhood, but then it quickly turns commercial right over here. So this address right here in front of you, that would be 523 Clay Street. This is a business. It looks like it's a trucking company, a tanker company. And their address is 603 Clay Street. I cannot tell. I can tell this is an older construction, but I can't tell how old. So I can't verify, because I've asked a couple people in the area if this used to be a home, and they don't know. But this would be presumably where it was. Just as I stopped recording, the owner of that home came outside to his backyard, and I asked him if there was a residence that was formerly at 603 Clay Street. And he did confirm to me that yes, there was 2 houses in that general vicinity, and that they were both bulldozed in 1996 or 1997 in place. That is where the business is now residing. So let's go back to the crime scene. Now, as investigators are searching the area for the rest of the remains, they find 2 of the legs that go with the rest of the baby's body. And they had to positively identify the baby that was found with the footprints that match the records of those prints. Oftentimes when babies are born, they do the whole footprint thing. And it was positively identified as being Amber Hayes. So now you got one Leslie Brockert. So now the prosecutors out here have a problem. Obviously, this guy is guilty. Something happened. We don't know what happened. Obviously, he's responsible for the murder. But the problem is, if you charge him with murder and you don't have enough evidence to convince a jury, then you're going to lose him forever. Now, if you charge him with a lesser crime, then perhaps you can get him on something. You can at least send him to prison for a while, bide some time, and then maybe in about 10 or 15 years, something comes up, somebody comes forward and points the finger at him, and then you can charge him with murder because there's no statute of limitations in any part of the country. So eventually, Leslie Brockert would be charged with the kidnapping of Amber Hayes. Now he goes to trial, and of course, this is the biggest news in the Muscatine, Davenport area. I mean, this case was all over the newspapers and the local TV stations at that time. The trial commences, and the prosecutor, they have a couple eyewitnesses claiming that they seen a pink diaper bag that Leslie was carrying that was associated and owned by the baby's mother, and supposedly somebody also seen Leslie driving in town, and in the car they said, oh yeah, he had the pink diaper bag with him. Well, I don't believe that eyewitness was either able to come forward or they just didn't. So looking at it, all of the evidence, well, there really isn't any. It's all circumstantial at this point. So you're going to be asking a jury of 12 people to convict this guy on kidnapping when we all know as adults he's responsible for her murder, but there's no physical evidence. And nobody's coming forward saying, oh yeah, he definitely did it. You got one Leslie Brockert who claims that he, along with the baby's mother, Mary, were selling cocaine out of the home, and that it was, quote unquote, just like a 7-Eleven, but for drugs, unquote. So anybody that came to buy some dope, maybe they got mad and they came and kidnapped the baby and did that. Who knows? So the trial lasts about, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 days or so. And the jury found Leslie Brockert not guilty of the crime of kidnapping. So now he is a free man, and he gets to go move about the country and do whatever it is that he wants to do. And you have a prosecution that sadly just did not have enough evidence, they felt, to convince the jury, but without a shadow of a doubt, that he was guilty, even though common sense says that, just being an adult with average IQ at best, we all know that that guy's a murderer. He would later go on to collect multiple felonies for drugs, and including a 1994 arrest for lighting his girlfriend's car on fire. This man has even admitted that he's crazy. And there you go. This is the grave of Amber Marie Hayes. Amber Hayes, embraced in the arms of Jesus. We all love you so much. So if you can tell, this ground has been disturbed. Now, I don't know why, but from what I looked up, there was some more remains that were given to the family for burial. I don't know. I don't even think an autopsy was done, because I don't believe that the rest of the baby's body was ever found. And as long as nobody says anything, then that bastard gets to live his life scot-free. And as far as I know, he's still alive. I don't believe he lives in this town, because I asked a couple people if they knew of him, and nobody did. They knew of the story, but nobody knew or even remembers who the guy was. If anybody has any information that they can add to this case, please contact the Muscatine County Sheriff's Department. Their number 563-263-6055. 563-263-6055. I'm Lamont at large. I will see you on the next video. Peace out.